there. My name is Jason Moore. My dad, Bill Moore, was supposed to also be here to say a few words, but he got sick yesterday, came down with fever. So I'll maybe share a couple things he might have said along with what I was going to say. I've known Jim Culpepper my entire life, and I mean that from age 0 on. One of the things he used to always, whenever we met somebody that somebody in the office that I didn't have met before, he had met before, he would always tell them, pointing at me, I was at the hospital when this guy was born. He was proud to say that. I remember that used to make me feel good whenever he would say that, because he treated me like a son. From a young age, I always knew my dad had this good friend named Jim Culpepper, and we'd see him off and on every once in a while, but not a ton when I was young. But my dad told us a story about him and Jim. It's one of those little stories that your dad tells you when you're young, and it kind of stays with you your whole life. It's a really funny story. So my dad and Jim used to go to they went to night school together at the U of H downtown, and they were carpool. One night they came out and they were in this dark parking lot, and my dad was driving, and so Dad's in the passenger seat, Jimbo's or my dad's in the driver's seat, Jimbo's in the passenger seat, and Jimbo looks at my dad with a really serious look and mouths the words, pointing to the back seat, "There's someone in the back seat." And he said my dad just, bug-eyed, and Jimbo cracks up. And for some reason, I loved when my dad told that story. I was like, Dad tells that story about Jim tricking you. and it's funny, because when you're little things like that stick with you. And I used to always have a little weird fear about someone in the backseat of my car. But my dad had a Century 21 real estate office in the 70s, and he would have a yearly Christmas party at the house, and he had Jimbo dress up as Santa Claus for the kids. And I was probably about 8 years old, and I happened to be walking, this is right before the party was going to start, and I was walking down the hallway in our downstairs, and I went into the garage, and Jimbo was in there putting on a Santa Claus outfit. That was like, what the heck? Why is Jimbo wearing a Santa Claus outfit? So that all of a sudden I realized, I wasn't sure about Santa Claus after that point. That's what I was trying to think. Maybe Santa Claus wasn't real. So Jim and I, we've been officing together for basically about the last 20 years. We've been sharing an office, and we've had countless fun discussions, lots of politics, religion, if you know Jim, he gets passionate on a subject, and it's fun thing about Jim is you can like butt heads with him and get into it, and it feels like a fight almost, but at the end it's all fun and it's exciting. We of course talk a lot of sports, a lot of Astros talk. We always had a little text chain between Jim, my two brothers Charlie and Mike, and we would text back and forth during the Astros games and about like strategy and what the manager should have done. And Jimbo wanted to fire the Astros manager about every other day. He was always wanting to fire the Astros manager. We would say, Jim, we won the World Series a couple years ago. These team, we're doing okay. And he loved to bunt. Jimbo loved the strategy of bunting in a baseball game. So you could have a man on first and second with Carlos Correa, and if Carlos Correa struck out, he would text, "We should have bunted there. Dusty, should have bunted." So we always do that. Jim, he loves that bunt. We played a lot of golf together. He taught us, Jimbo loved to gamble, and so he taught us several games to this day that we still play in golf. It was squeegees, greenies, and sandies. And to this day, we still play those games, my brothers and I, when we play golf. And we owe that to Jim. We probably went to Vegas a couple times and had some good times. I thought of one story I'll share, and I know Duncan said no more than 30 minutes, right? He was very strict with me. He didn't say your words would be done. So I'll be quick. Last story here. So whenever we would go to lunch, we went to lunch with Jimbo a lot. So we always had these lunches, and every once in a while someone new would show up to the lunch that Jimbo hadn't met. And I would always want Jim to share one of his stories with the new person, because he had dozens. And about every year, he would tell a new story, and I'm thinking, how have I never heard that one? Because it was insane. Like it would be like something you would see in a movie. So he tells us, this is one of my favorite Jimbo stories that some of y'all heard, I know the family knows. So when he was, I'm going to say 30 years ago, when his girls were young, he decided to get a toupee. And some of y'all, Corey, shaking your head. So Jimbo's bald, sort of like me a little bit. And he decided to get a toupee. He had a hairstylist. I never could figure that out. Jimbo went to a hairstylist. And so his hairstylist talked him into getting a toupee. And so he came, and I'm sure the story, I'll probably mess it up a little bit. This is how Jim told it to me. He came home with a new toupee on, and his girls were going, "What are you doing, Dad? You look crazy." And they were giving him a hard time, and he said, "Look, this is the new me. Get used to it." So the next Sunday comes, and at this time they're going to Westbury Church of Christ. They have a certain bench they sit in. They're sitting in their bench. He's got his new toupee on. His family's around him, and he knew the pastor. The pastor knew him. They knew each other, and he said the pastor spotted him, and he thought, "Oh, this isn't good." So he made eye contact. And he said, "Oh, I see that Jim Culpepper's brother's visiting with us today." And he said, Jimbo felt the room get hot. He felt every eye come to him. He said the back of his neck was red. Of course, the service probably felt like hours. And he got home, says he went to his room, took off the toupee, set it on the little thing, and he never wore it again. So in closing, I love Jim Culpepper. I consider him one of my best friends. He was like a father to me, and I'm going to miss him. And I know when Kim texted and said it wasn't looking good, I had a little moment to myself and just every memory in the world, Pastor Corbin. I just thank God for letting me say a few words.